to America, which is Osama bin Laden's letter to America explaining why he attacked Americans. And I am ashamed to say that I not only have never read this letter, but I didn't even know this letter existed. It's wild, and everyone should read it. If you haven't read it yet, read it. However, be forewarned that this has left me very disillusioned, and I feel the same exact way I felt when I was deconstructing Christianity. I feel a little bit just confused, like I have entered into another timeline. What is this? And yeah, so go read it.
So I just read A Letter to America, and I will never look at life the same. I will never look at this country the same. Please read it. And if you have read it, let me know if you are also going through an existential crisis in this very moment, because in the last 20 minutes, my entire viewpoint on the entire life I have believed and I have lived has changed. Please read that entire letter.
I need everyone to stop what they're doing right now and go read. It's literally 2 pages. Go read A Letter to America. And please come back here and just let me know what you think, because I feel like I'm going through like an existential crisis right now, and a lot of people are. So I just need someone else to be feeling this too.
I need you to stop what you're doing and go read A Letter to America. It is literally the craziest thing I've read in a while. And while I can't say that I'm that surprised, I am pretty shocked. So go read it and tell me what you think, because I really also need to talk to other people about this. And actually, before you even read the letter, I did want to mention, in reading the letter, I could only think of this tweet that I saw the other day. Under settler colonialism, any kind of resistance is branded as terrorist because the only acceptable violence is violence by the occupier.
So this letter, bin Laden rails about gay rights. Also, he says that AIDS is a satanic American invention. Clearly, they're not saying that, right? What they're saying is they're reading what a terrorist actually says and not buying the American government's "they hate our freedoms" BS. They don't hate our freedoms. I think that they'd love to never think about us ever at all. They hate our pursuit of their blood and money and oil. These people are realizing that when their government kills people abroad, at least some of those people will then want bloody revenge on us. In 2002, here's part of the letter. Bin Laden wrote this. He says, "You've starved the Muslims of Iraq, where children die every day. It's a wonder that more than 1.5 million Iraqi children have died as a result of your sanctions, and you did not show concern. Yet when 3,000 of your people died, the entire world rises and has not sat down." He's talking about the 3,000 souls from 9/11. Now, that 1.5 million Iraqi children number, though, in the decade since he wrote that, has grown to over 4.5 million children, people, souls, innocent civilians. Where did I get that? Well, remember, we talked about this in May. This was a report from Brown University that said that the death toll post 9/11 from all of the wars since stands now at 4.5 million people and counting. Most of these were indirect deaths, meaning that they came from the post 9/11 wars, destruction of economies, public services, and the environment. Indirect deaths grow in scale over time. Remember this chart? It means that suffering will continue long after the U.S. and Western allies withdraw from those regions. Of those 4.5 million deaths, they say that most of them, in fact 3.7 million, are from indirect causes such as the spread of disease, health problems, destruction of economies, public services, and the environment, and they just keep going. And then once we're done spreading devastation in those regions, we make it worse with sanctions of mass destruction, which prevent economies from recovering in any meaningful way. That's why we have this horrific chart about, it didn't print well or didn't PDF well, about child malnutrition, children literally wasting. Now, recall when Secretary of State Madeleine Albright was asked about the children that had died in Iraq since our war on terror, she said this.
"I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it."
Worth it, she said. Now, another reason that the media is censoring this, they're saying that it's anti-Semitic, Osama bin Laden's letter. Now, it's anti a lot of things. It's anti-homophobic. He talks about
it's anti-homosexual, not anti-homophobic.
It is homophobic. I'm sorry. It is absolutely anti-Zionist, to be sure. But what we're saying here is it's worth understanding why people attack us, and if there's anything we can do to stop it. And absolutely there is. In the anti-Semitic part, he says that Americans allow the Jews to take land from them in Palestine and destroy their mosques and keep them under the Jewish protection of weapons. He warns, though, that civilians should be held accountable for this. This is what we call collective punishment. He says, you may dispute that all of the above does not justify aggression against civilians for crimes they did not commit and offenses which they did not partake. This argument contradicts your continuous repetition that America is the land of freedom and its leaders in this world. Therefore, the American people are the ones who choose their government by way of their own free will, a choice which stems from their government to its policies. Thus, the American people have chosen, consented to, and affirmed their support for the Israeli oppression of the Palestinians, the occupation and usurpation of their land, and its continuous killing, torture, punishment, and expulsion of the Palestinians. The American people have the ability and choice to refuse the policies of their government and change it if they want. Now, this evil, what he's talking about here, evil is collective punishment. It's called collective punishment. That means you punish people for innocent civilians for what their governments do because they chose them, right?
Right.
So we in the West can't have a double standard about collective punishment where we say that anyone who is Palestinian is fair game to be punished because their government, Hamas, did this, right? And also, though, we shouldn't be fair game for what our government does. No, you can't have it both ways.
Right, so when you look at the invasion of Syria, right, the illegal occupation of Syria right now, it's an illegal occupation. And as Kevork Almasi and another Syrian journalists have pointed out, the United States is there illegally. And so by that metric then, the American people in many ways are complicit. They voted for President Biden. They voted for this Congress.
Right.
Congress just passed a resolution confirming staying in Syria and
They rejected a withdrawal of Gaza in Syria. You're right.
Yeah, and pointing out Syria did not attack the U.S.
Right.
Syria has never attacked the U.S.
Yes.
Like, what in the hell are we doing there?
Right. Why are we attacking Russia, by the way? As our friend Tucker Carlson has pointed out, he's like, I've never known any American to have been killed by Russia. Mm-hmm. So why are we attacking Russia? Why? Like, what are we doing? And so will we not expect there to be some sort of reprisal? Some sort of, we're worried about the safety of the American people, and you're literally swatting hornets' nests and you're going to be surprised when someone gets stung?
Right. And so, again, this double standard that says, well, Palestinians, they're there, they voted for Hamas, then they're guilty too, they have to suffer collective punishment, then we should too, right? You can't have it both. So either you believe in protecting civilians or you don't. And this is the part that I think young people are starting to understand, is that terrorists see this as a way of revenge because we otherwise are not listening. This is also from the letter saying that Allah the Almighty legislated the permission and option to take revenge. Thus, if we are attacked, we have the right to attack back. Whoever has destroyed our villages and towns, then we have the right to destroy theirs. Whatever has stolen our wealth, we have the right to destroy their economy. And he says, why then did we attack in New York and Washington? Because look at the last line. America does not understand the language of manners and principles, so we are addressing it in a language it understands. Now, so whoever buys this, the they hate our freedoms BS, is not listening, and then we're not seeing how we are being made to be complicit, right?
We spit on this very, very early when President Bush was campaigning on this. They hate our freedoms. That's why they attacked us. They hate our freedoms. Like, anyone with a brain knew that wasn't the case. They just randomly hate our freedom, so they're going to attack us? No, that's not at all what was happening. How about all the military bases that you're literally building in their backyard and stealing their oil and their resources?
Right.
Like, you're literally driving them into poverty. You're stealing their shit. Get out of their house, and maybe that's why they're upset. Not the justification for attacking and killing Americans, But that's exactly what the reasoning was. Not that they hate our freedoms. Go ahead, David.
Well, I was just gonna say, there's more freedoms in what is the other countries is my point. That why aren't they attacking them? Uruguay, that's the one I was going to use. There's more freedom there. They're not attacking Uruguay.
Right.
Yeah, the United States is not the freest country in the world that we purport to be, but there are a lot of countries that are actually freer. So
Right.
yeah, why aren't they under a constant attack?
Yeah. And another line the U.S. uses is, well, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Well, does negotiate mean stop killing them and taking their oil? In which case, maybe we should start negotiating, right?
Well, and we created Hamas.
Right.
So we can't negotiate with an organization that we created and funded. We created Al-Qaeda.
No, but that's what they tell us is we can't negotiate at all, because when the question is, well, why'd they do this to us? What do they want? It's a totally normal question, right? If someone breaks into your house with a gun, you say, what do you want?
Right.
And so
money?
we want to know, what is it they want? Why are they hurting us? This is a sincere, legitimate question. And we say, we won't negotiate with them. We're just going to
We won't even listen.
And so they don't want us to ask that question so that maybe we can give them what they want so that we are safer. If someone breaks into your house and they say, we want what's in the safe, you give it to them to see if
Yeah. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Yeah. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Now, what y'all wanna do? Wanna be ballers, shot callers, brawlers, who be dipping in the bins with the spoilers, on the low from the Jake and the Taurus, trying to get my hands on
Now
some
when
grants
you
like
say,
Forrest.
my car go 160 swiftly, wreck it, get out and run. OMG, run. So, you know, I've been talking about, you know, the shame. We've been seeing what the word's been saying about the shame, the tremendous shame mixed with gnawing and gnashing of teeth that's going to go down. And I can see it now, just more confirmation of how precise his word is. But I can see that happening right now. I'm sure that the foxy type, anyone who supports Trump and they stand with ISIS-Rael, they probably left this video anyways. They're probably not here. I hope and pray that all of them would hear this out and open their eyes, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I mean, that would be unwise, right? But if one of them did make it this far, and if they allow the miracle to happen, that would make them just stop for a second and ask themselves a question. If they could just stop and say, why has everything went the way it's went? 911, that didn't look like, that something was up with that. Something's up with a lot of this stuff, all of this stuff. And especially if you're someone who is of the attitude of Torah observant, and you don't, you want to come out of Babylon. Well, if that's you, and you have been someone, you're someone like a lot of us have been, like I've been, you're someone that loved the national anthem, and thinking about like the history of this country, how people lost their lives fighting in wars and whatever to create this country. And they say, people still say that, they fought for our freedoms. I used to say the same thing. I used to get choked up when I was somewhere where we had to take our hat off and, stand up and put your hand on your heart for the national anthem or whatever. I used to be someone that, if you would have told me 10 years ago that I'd be talking about what I'm talking tonight, I would have had a heart attack and fell over. I would have never believed it. But what kind of shame would I ever bury myself in if I would have denied all these obvious realities about who these people are, what they've really been doing, what hasn't happened, and what has. Imagine how deep of a hole of shame I would have buried myself in if I would have denied all that and kept denying all the way up through to where we are right now with what we got going on in the world right now. And then someday everyone of the world realize that what's actually been happening, the carnage that has occurred, and the all the innocent lives that have been lost for, not for what we were told it was for, but in the end, could you imagine when I see that the whole world realizes what's really been going on, and me and everyone around me realizes that I've been tooting this place and that place's horn this whole time, and Trump, all of them, Bush, this whole thing, knowing that it was all a scam, that there was no one was fighting. We weren't fighting for our freedoms. That was a joke. The people that convinced us to say things like that, they convinced us to say that thing laughing at us, with knowing damn well that they were only enslaving us all the more by telling us, convincing us that we were free. Imagine how much shame someone is going to feel when they realize they've been supporting, like blindly, regardless, not looking at no truth, just blindly supporting it because they're patriotic, whatever they want to say. And when they realize that it was the image of the beast and the enemy, when you realize that when you would sing that song, "Oh, Star Spangled Banner," what you were really singing about, when you realize whose side you've been on, who you've been cheerleading for, and kissing the ring to, when you realize that, and you realize at the same time that you had so many opportunities, you were shown the truth and you denied it because it's all about the Benjamins, baby. The American dream. Imagine how shameful you're going to feel. And for the people that are still beating that drum and longing for the American dream so they can fit in with their neighbors or whoever that they're impressed with, did they think that that's all there was to life, was just grow up and clock in, clock out, American dream, get the car, the truck, the house, the wife, the husband, the white picket fence, and then just grow old, get left alone in the nursing home and die and get buried in the ground? That's all their life consists of? There was nothing to work towards, no future to work towards? Well, there was a future that you can work towards, but the only way you can work towards it is when you give up all the rest. Until you understand that that's not life, that is miserable captivity. We weren't created to live our life like that. We're children, sons and daughters of the mighty Most High, Abba Yahuwah. We've been created for mighty things. And Bingo and the Joneses, Chattanooga, Tennessee, all that stuff, it's not what we were made for. I wanted to show you this, the 11-pointed star underneath of the statue. There's another thing. I mean, the evidence is everywhere. It's going to be a mockery to you, to your face, if you don't do a 180 and stop right now. And all I'm saying, suggesting that you do, is just stop supporting the enemy, paganry, sun worship, star worship, goddesses and gods, and bowing down and to these people who are lying to you, making a absolute joke out of you, taking your money and your support, laughing all the way to the bank, and you get left looking like a damn fool. Just think about that. That star above that eagle that we were just looking at, that I superimposed a few things on top of. You see that star is exactly what I told you it is. That's why right here it says, a number of fun options to explore include the fact that Thelema 11 represents the number of magic. On the Kabbalistic tree of life, the 11th Sephira is the Sephira of Death, the hidden Sephira occurring in the middle of the so-called abyss. And it's all related. All them stars, they're all like sigils and spells. And that's who you're supporting. Just imagine the amount of shame someone's going to feel if they don't stop. If you stop right now, there will be no shame. We've all did it. But don't get caught doing it. Stop now before it's too late. Denounce fraud, theft, robbery, perversion, satanic crap, all that stuff, death, innocent lives being lost, lies, all these things. Denounce those things right now. Do a 180 on the tree of life, the Kabbalah tree of life doctrine that has convinced the world that there ain't nothing they do that's wrong. They don't have to do it, repent. It's what's in my heart. I celebrate Easter and Christmas and the Statue of Liberty, all these things because of this. So they are telling you, loud and clear, that they're the boss, that they're chief. They made the rules, and they march to the beat of their own self-made drum. They don't need what Abba says, or they don't care that that's not what he says because it doesn't fit what they do. That's what that tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the midst of the garden, that's what it teaches. It teaches you that you can become like him. You surely won't die. You'll be like him. He don't want you to be like him. And that's what the world does right now. They pretend to be like him. Even though in their delusional, twisted fantasy of reality that they live in, they can't see it that way. They don't truly, honestly believe that they are claiming to be equal with our Creator. But they are. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It matters what is. That's what matters. This morning, I was thinking about this article that we read from yesterday. When I read about this piece of art right here that says Zeus transformed into a bull is portrayed stealing the goddess Europa. When I read that on the video yesterday, I just kept reading, but I thought to myself, I said, something's up with that. Wait till you see what I got to show you. Europa, I thought, and Europa sounded kind of like Utopia, like a Utopia, and that's what I was thinking, and that's why I went and looked just to be safe, crossing those T's, dotting those I's. Look right here. The abduction of Europa. In the metamorphosis, metaphysical, something transforming into something that it ain't, the image of the beast. The ancient Roman poet Ovid told a story about the god Jupiter who disguised himself as a white bull in order to seduce the princess Europa away from her companions and carry her across the sea to the distant land that would bear her name. Ding, 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 ding. Did you catch all that? Okay. It says, in the metamorphosis, Ovid the poet told a story about the god Jupiter who disguised himself as a white bull, white righteous, the bull of your lips. He disguised himself as a righteous saying, doctrine, teaching, interpretation, in order to seduce the princess Europa away from her companions and carry her across the sea to the distant land that would bear her name. I wasn't lying to you when I told you that all these stories are connected. It's all about the same thing. Everything that you see pretty much is talking about the secret of the Most High, and not very many are noticing it. During his long career, Rembrandt rarely painted mythological subjects. Here, he conveys a narrative story through dramatic gesture and visual effects. Bewildered, Europa grasps the bull's horns, digs her fingers into his neck, and turns back to look at her companions on the water's edge. One young woman falls to the ground and raises her arms in alarm, dropping the flower garland intended for the bull's neck into her lap, while her friend clasps her hands in consternation and watches helplessly. The carriage driver above rises to his feet and stares at the departing princess in horror. In the background, a city shrouded in mist extends along the horizon, perhaps serving as an allusion to the ancient city of Tyre, as well as to contemporary Amsterdam. The dark thicket of trees to the light contrasts with the pink and blue regions of the sea and sky. Sunlight breaks through the clouds and reflects off the water, but the sky behind the trees is dark and foreboding. A master of visual effects, Rembrandt took pleasure in describing the varied textures of sumptuous costumes and glittering gold highlights on the carriage and dresses. Now look at, here's the picture. If I can zoom it in. Well, you can see her right there, riding a bull, a white bull. Does that remind you of anything else too? Maybe the whore riding the beast? Could be. Europa was a Phoenician princess from Tyre, Lebanon, and the mother of King Minos of Crete. The continent of Europe may be named after her. The story of her abduction by Zeus in the form of a bull was a Cretan story, as classicists, whoever, points out. Most of the love stories concerning Zeus originated from more ancient tales describing his marriages with goddesses. There's another picture. I put my thing over top of it because it was a little inappropriate now, but you see the bull and she's riding the bull. Oh, there's another statue down there of it right here. In the territory of Phoenician Sidon, Lucian of Samosata was informed that the temple of Astarte, Ashtoreth, Ishtar, whom Lucian equated with the moon goddess, was sacred to Europa. There is likewise in Phoenicia a temple of great size owned by the Sidonians. They call it the temple of Astarte. That's who you've been given your unwavering support and allegiance to. And the reason you won't stop is because you don't want to admit that you've been wrong. You want to be right. You want to continue on doing what you're doing because you say it's right, even though you won't go look to see what the truth is, and plenty of evidence has been presented to you. You refuse to stop because you don't want to say you're wrong. You've been wrong. Well, we've all been wrong. So get over it. If you want to live, get over it. She was the daughter of Agenar, and on her disappearance from earth, the Phoenicians honored her with a temple and told a sacred legend about her, how that Zeus was enamored of her for her beauty, and changing his form into that of a bull, carried her off into Crete. The paradox, as it seemed to Lucian, would be solved if Europa is Astarte in her guise as the full, broad-faced moon. They agreed that she came to Crete where the sacred bull, see, it's all connected. The golden calf the beast in Revelations, this thing, what we're looking at right here, all of it is. The Trojan horse, we were just reading about the Trojan horse. And now look here, it says, in the more familiar telling, she was seduced by the god Zeus in the form of a bull who breathed from his mouth a saffron crocus. Saffron crocus right here is a species of flowering plant. It's a flowering plant. So he seduced the woman, named after a continent, after a land, and he seduced her by pretending to be righteous by the bowl of his lips, that flowering plant. He dropped seeds of discord. That's what that story's telling you. The story's telling you that Zeus deceived a land, a people of a land, into following him because he was righteous, and the things that he said convinced her to ride him across the sea to a distant land that would bear her name. And who's Zeus? Jesus. It's pretty spot on, ain't it? See, this is the enemy. The enemy had all that stuff done. They've been doing it. All the art, all the names and the everything. You seen in that intro video where we were listening to the redacted people, they made it a law that that's the only place you can't take satellite imagery. Isn't that convenient for them? But I just found, and if you read to her, and I encourage you to do so, you'll see all the connections about this lady Europa, and she's associated with Demeter, with Mother Earth, with Gaia, with all that stuff. It's all connected. And her name, the etymology of her name, her name means where the sun set, west of Phoenicia. That's where it came from. That's what it means. I wanted to finish all of Lamentations, and we only read the first 3 chapters. There's only 5, I believe, 5 or 6, and they're short chapters, so let's get 4. Let's watch Abba, Yahuwah, do the slicing and dicing, and we stay in our lane, turn our ears on, and close our mouths. Speak when we're spoken to. That's how I get down. How dim the gold has become. The fine gold changed. The stones of the set-apart place are scattered at the head of every street. There you go. The stones of the set-apart place. It's not literal. It doesn't mean that they took one stone and threw it that head of that street. It means that no one knows where their home is, what they're made to do. Nothing. No, those stones don't mean anything to them. The precious sons of Sion who were weighed against fine gold, how they have been reckoned as clay pots, the work of the hands of the potter. Yeah, see how it always leads us along, doing the tango. He wines and dines us. We have transformed in a metamorphosis or whatever ourselves into being clay pot, into clocking in, clocking out, kissing ass all day for nothing, for the Benjamins, baby, that one day we won't be able to spend them. It won't matter. And we'll realize that it was the worst thing that that existed. One of them. I mean, all together as a whole, it was horrible. When we did that, we reckoned ourselves as clay pots to chase the Benjamin's baby when we shouldn't have gave it a second's attention. We should have left it in the gutter and went back to being gold like we were made to be. Even jackals have presented their breast. They have nursed their young. The daughter of my people have become as cruel as ostriches in the wilderness. Remember ostriches. I don't know, you may have been noticing here lately as we read, a lot of times when it's talking about the imposter, the image of the beast, the horror, sore, all that, he uses the word ostriches when he's talking about how she's going to end up, the house of the thief. So keep that in mind, man. If you know something about it, let me know. The tongue of the infant has clung to the roof of its mouth for thirst. Children ask for bread. No one breaks it for them. Nobody even talking about the slicing and dicing. Those who ate delicacies have been laid waste in the streets. Oh, no escargot. Those delicacies, those who have ate those have been laid waste in the streets. Those who were brought up in scarlet have embraced dunghills. And the crookedness of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom, which was overthrown in a moment and no hands were wrung over her. Yeah, so he's been telling us that. It's way worse. She's going to get way worse. So I would give up the hope that you're going to be able to Barry Sanders your way out of there when shit goes down. The best way to fight against what's coming is to get where you need to be way ahead of time. Her Nazarites were brighter than snow and whiter than milk, more ruddy in body than rubies. They're cut like sapphire. Their appearance has become blacker than soot. They have become unrecognized in the streets. Their skin has shriveled on their bones. It has become dry. It has become as wood. Better off were those pierced by the sword than those pierced by hunger. For these pine away, pierced through for lack of the fruits of the field. The hands of the compassionate women have boiled their own children. They became food for them in the destruction of the daughter of my people. Now, whether that's literal or not, I have heard that did literally happen at one time when Nebuchadnezzar and them come over after Messiah or whatever, when they got wiped out. I did hear that when they set a siege up around them, and they did like those guys are doing to Gaza right now, and they didn't allow food or water, nothing to go in and out, that at one point they started to eat their children. I don't know if that happened. It's pretty hard for me to imagine that happening, but crazy things happen. But what we can say for sure is they might as well, because when you raise up a child and to only know Babylon, it's like you stood at the parting of two ways. One side of the people of everyone is going to life, and then the rest is going this way at the parting of two ways, to death, to fire. It's like you're standing there in front of that thing, that mechanism that's separating, and you're handing your child right to the fire. Here you go, boom, just tossing them in there with no thought. When you raise them up in Babylon, you never tell them the truth. And it's hard, yes. Well, no one ever said it would be easy either. You're just going to have to. Otherwise, their blood is on your hands as the parent. It's going to be such a shameful day. It's going to be devastating for those who refuse to humble themselves, to go look, to see if There's something that they're doing that ain't right, and quit making excuses up and justifying why you do what you do, claiming that you know right from wrong, the knowledge of good and evil, when the only one who knows right from wrong is the one who made right from wrong. He made all this. You have to take your instructions from the only one capable of giving instructions. And you're not, and neither am I. None of us are. All we can do is repeat what he says. Just like all these enemies, that's where these stories come from, because all they can do is repeat what he said, just twist it to their own destruction. Don't be like them, my friends. The hands of the compassionate women, I already read that. Yeah. They became food for them in the destruction of the daughter of my people. Right. So, and as those children were reared up in Babylon, and the more they did that, the more these toys and gadgets became more of a demand. The demand for them was greater. It grew to be the insane level that it is right now. And the more spoiled rotten these children got, and the more money these parents had to spend, the more stress they had to go through just to give their children the Christmas just as good, if not better, than the neighbor's kids. So they didn't feel like an idiot, and they didn't get depressed and think that their children hated them. They're, like I've been saying, it's only rottenness that is in that, all of that. There is no good. You keep saying there is good, but you don't have no proof. You're afraid to even look, because you know, just like I do, there is no good. It's all rotten. The whole head to the tail, it's all sick. Yahuwah has completed his wrath. He has poured out his burning displeasure, and he kindled a fire in Zion, and it consumed her foundations. The sovereigns of the earth did not believe, nor any of the inhabitants of the world, that an adversary and enemy would enter the gates of Jerusalem. Yeah, like right now in America. It was because of the sins of her prophets, the crookednesses of her priests, who shed in her midst the blood of the righteous. Yes. No righteousness was being talked about unless it benefited them. But if it labeled them conspiracy theorists or crazy, it wasn't getting touched, and it didn't matter whose lives were lost. They staggered blind in the streets. They have defiled themselves with blood, so that no one was able to touch their garments. They shouted at them, "Away, unclean, away, away, touch not," when they fled and staggered. They said, "Among the nations, they shall stay no longer. They shall stay no longer." The face of Yahuwah scattered them. He no longer regards them. They showed no respect for the priests, nor favor to the elders. While we exist, our eyes are consumed, watching vainly for our help. In our watchtower, we watched for a nation that could not save us. Pledged our allegiance to it. And when it's gone, I mean, I can't imagine the shame on that day, but I'm sure that there's going to be quite a few of them that start making up excuses and saying, "Oh, that's because this has to happen, and they'll be back next Tuesday." If you keep going, man, I mean, you're digging and digging yourself such a deep hole. They have hunted our steps from going in our streets. Our end was near, our days were completed, for our end had come. Our pursuers were swifter than the eagles of the heavens. They came hotly after us on the mountains, and lay in wait for us in the wilderness. The breath of our nostrils, the anointed of Yahuwah, was caught in their pits, in whose shadow we had thought to live among the nations. You see that? See how that works? Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, you who dwell in the land of Uz. The cup is to pass over to you too, so that you become drunk and make yourself naked. Your crookedness has been completed, O daughter of Zion. He no longer prolongs your exile. He shall punish your crookedness, O daughter of Edom. He shall uncover your sins. There you go. He no longer prolongs your exile. Chapter 5. Remember, O Yahuwah, what has come upon us. Look and see our reproach. Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, and our houses to foreigners. We have become orphans, fatherless. Our mothers are like widows. We had to pay for our drinking water, and our wood comes at a price. We have been pursued close onto our neck. We have labored and had no rest. To Mitzrayim we have given a hand, to Ashur to be satisfied with bread. Our fathers sinned, they are no more. We have borne their crookednesses. Servants have ruled over us. There is no one to deliver from their hand. With our lives we bring in our bread because of the sword of the wilderness. Yeah. Babylon, what that bull was breathing, huh? All that stuff. They're slicing and dicing too. Our skin has become as hot as an oven because of the burning heat of scarcity of food. They have humbled the women in Sion, the maidens in the cities of Yehuda. Rulers were hung up by their hands, and elders were not respected. They have taken young men to grind, and youth stumbled under their loads of wood. Elders have ceased from the gate, young men from their song. There you go. The joy of our heart has ceased. Our dancing has turned into mourning. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. See? Because of this, our heart has been sick. Because of these, our eyes have become dim. Because of Mount Sion, which is laid waste, foxes have gone roaming in it. You, O Yahuwah, remain forever, your throne from generation to generation. Why do you forget us forever? Forsake us for the length of days. Turn us back to you, O Yahuwah, and let us turn back. Renew our days as of old. For have you completely rejected us? You have been wroth with us exceedingly. Yes, he has. But those days are over. Now we have a choice. Now we must allow ourselves to be renewed. We have to renew our mind, our strength, our cause, our purpose, our support, our allegiance, our pledge, our duty. Everything must be configured towards the truth, right ruling, reality, love, and commitment. And that's the only way. It's his way or the highway. And guess what? His way is the highway. There's no tolls. I ran front door for you. And I ain't seen no smokies. Roger that. All the scales are closed. It's smooth sailing, rubber ducky. All you got to do is put your foot on the gas and get here fast. But enjoy the sights and the dance and the song along the way. I'm sure you will. If you don't go and get on the highway, all that you think you're enjoying right now will be your shame in the not so distant future. It says, come out of Babylon now. If you can't lament and mourn and return to your comely home and inquire about it, consider that the Most High's children have been ripped from their inheritance and they live like cockroaches. Worse, cockroaches got better life. They don't have to kiss ass at 3 jobs just to impress the honeys, and only to understand that everyone in that life is a ravenous wolf, savages. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and they will rip your face off if it comes between them and the American dream. The Joneses, those Benjamins, baby. And understanding that no one around you really loves or cares about you or anyone. And if you've got something that they want, they don't mind showing you that they'll kiss your ass to get it. But it's only for that and nothing else. You got to come out of Babylon all the way, my friends. One toe in is all in. The only way out is all in. Don't forget that story that we read about Europa and the bull. That story is what's happened in a nutshell, in their own little weird way. The story of that tells you that it tells you exactly what happened. That Zeus fooled you into thinking he was a righteous whatever bull, and he breathed out lies that spread like wildfire, and it's consumed almost everyone. And just hating it but still partaking with it, it's not enough. It's going in the wrong direction. If you still want to dabble and mingle because you don't want to be excluded from society, well, that means you're society. The only way to come home and truly be set apart is you have to come home and set yourself apart. The only way you're going to do that is humble yourself, get on your face, give Yahuwah, our Creator, that's His name, not G-O-D-L-O-R-D, His son ain't J-E-S-U-S. Our Creator, His name is Abba, Yahuwah, He's the Most High. Humble yourself, get on your face, give Him all the praise, all the honor, all the glory, and all the esteem, all the time right now, while you have some time. We don't know how much time we have left, but if you truly love the Most High, time shouldn't be an issue. The only date you should be telling me right now is that you changed yesterday.